Meta's Mark Zuckerberg has been making some huge announcements that I think are catching everybody. I don't know about off guard, but like every time you think Zuckerberg can't go bigger, he goes bigger. And right now he's talking about AGI, artificial general intelligence. He's talking about how he's going to change the planet. He's also talking about devices, getting that in there as well. But when you start doing the math on this, 600,000 GPUs, things like that, doing the math and figuring out it is billions of dollars. I don't even know where to begin with this. Jaden, you saw all this news. Like, talk to me about what you're seeing about what Meta's doing, and let's talk about like where
the
they're
first thing I
going
want
with
to
all
say
this.
is I love the delivery of this announcement. Very often when you have these massive companies making big announcements, it's like a big press release. Like, I think Meta is trying to, and Zuckerberg, I know he's like always trying to kind of work on his image. It's kind of funny because right now I think he lives off in Hawaii, and people are mad that he bought so much land in Hawaii, and he's like a cattle farm. And I've like seen somewhere, I saw a picture of him, and it's like, him like eating this like cattle stuff, and he's like, we're growing our own beef and like doing our own thing. So like he's off living his like, best life, whatever. But I think he doesn't want his image to just be kind of this aloof billionaire. So it's funny because the delivery on this whole thing was literally like just like him in like a little room with like a phone and like giving these like massive announcements, and then just drops it. And I mean, I see it on X, but I'm sure he probably posted it on like Instagram or something first, I'm assuming. But anyways, yes, the news is massive. He's literally said that they're going to go after AGI. And it's funny because like they've obviously spent billions and billions on their metaverse play, and he didn't like straight up abandon it, but it does feel like a massive pivot is currently being made to this kind of big AI focus. And the other thing that I want to say is this doesn't seem like so far out. Like they've been building these really incredible AI models, really incredible open source things. And the big news I think here is that he said they're going to open source AGI. They're going to open source everything. Essentially the original vision of OpenAI. And it seems like he might be kind of, putting a little jab at Sam Altman and being like, oh, look, we're going to do what you guys were supposed to do, So it's kind of interesting. And it seems like there's a lot of drama going on in the AI space because of it.
Yeah, the AGI part is just super fascinating, right? Because I think Altman kind of came out recently and said, like, yeah, AGI is going to come probably sooner than you think, but also might not make as big a difference as you think, which would be really funny if that was a response to Zuckerberg's AGI being like, I don't even want to do AGI anymore. But this is the thing about Zuckerberg and AGI and open source. Like, I'm trying to figure out a couple of things on this. First of all, I love that you go to Zuckerberg and his image. I think that this matters so much more to people, like to those individuals, than we think. And you know what? He's not wrong about like this is what OpenAI wanted to do. But here's the thing: like back in the spring, Jaden, do you remember all this? Like I think you were even talking about on this on AI Chat way back when I started to kind of hear some of your stuff on that, which is like what OpenAI is going to do is sort of like pull ahead, and then what everybody's saying is like, look, but we have no moat, and open source is going to sort of like eat our lunch. And there was that whole thing that came out. I think it came out from Google or OpenAI. I can't remember who it came out from. And here we are about a year later, a little less than a year later, and GPT-4 is still kind of like crushing everybody and everything like that. So I'm just wondering, like, with this open source, are we thinking that open source, this is the moment where they're investing? I mean, look, the numbers are looking at like, I'm looking at numbers of like $94 to $99 billion investment by them in open source. I've been doing a ton of deeper dives on like, how are they monetizing all this, because this is fascinating to me. And like, aren't they anyway, I don't want to kind of go into the weeds on that yet, but I guess I'm just thinking, does OpenAI have this moat? Will is this Meta's moment where they're going to sort of like storm past? Because what you just said was really significant, right? Not only do they have Llama 3 is going to be coming out, not only are they making this huge investment, and a lot of this is just about GPUs also. Not only are they making this huge investment, but they've also already made a huge investment in metaverse, and we're all sort of like thinking, that's off to the side. But now with Apple's Vision Pro coming out with their glasses, he's talking about wearables. I'm just wondering if he's sort of like, playing 4D chess and everybody else is just looking at one thing. He's looking at the whole picture.
On the one hand, I wouldn't put it past Mark, because I know that like for a lot of people don't love him or his companies or whatever, but like you have to admit he's built like a pretty insane empire, and like the way he's put that together, like I do have to give him credit for that. So I wouldn't put it past him to have like kind of a big master grand plan. From everything I've covered and everything I've seen, what I think really is going on is that the metaverse was like what he wanted it to be, this big new platform, and it hasn't panned out the way he wanted. It hasn't got the users he wanted. I mean, I have an
Right.
Oculus
Right.
headset that I haven't used in like, I don't know, almost a year probably, just because it's just not my thing and it's just not there. And I know it's whatever. So I've also heard from the Apple, the Apple Vision Pro, from like Marcus Brownlee and a bunch of other people reviewing it. It's apparently super heavy. So like, I don't know where these things are yet. But what I think he said in his big announcement is critical. He really emphasized the Ray-Bans collaboration, where they have like a pair of glasses and they're doing more like
Mhm.
alternate reality, AR or whatever, and where you can, or
Yeah.
augmented reality, sorry, where you can, project things that you're seeing. And he said this is perfect for AI because it's all of a sudden an AI that's going to be able to see what you see and hear what you hear. And so it's going to this kind of multimodal AI. So I think that, well, a lot of people will be like, hey, this is a massive pivot. He's going AI because the metaverse didn't pan out. And I do think a big portion of that's correct. He's able to save face a little bit by saying, well, maybe that didn't pan out, but like the tech we were able to use to put into these glasses, and these glasses are tied to AI. So it's kind of like all the same thing. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, he put $10 billion a year into the metaverse. It has not panned out how he wanted. And so this is kind of their big pivot and their big play. And I have some friends that actually work inside of Meta on their VR kind of unit and stuff, and in there, and I get pretty much a similar feeling from them on that as well. And what I will say, they also are compensated like super well, and he's having to do the same thing where they're paying a lot of money. And I think this is a big component. So I would love to hear your opinion on this. But the talent wars, what percentage of this whole Meta going all in on AI
Yeah.
is all about talent? Because the AI also impacts Facebook's algorithms and other things, but they need this talent, and they're paying up to $1 million a year for some of these AI researchers.
Yeah, this is the thing, right? I mean, I think it actually does come down to talent. We always say that in every company, oh, it's all about the talent. I don't know how you explain a tiny company like OpenAI, and I mean relatively tiny to Google, everybody else. Everybody sort of like, went off with the same starting gun, and OpenAI just like blasting past everybody, except that it is a talent war. And it's sort of like what you see in professional sports sometimes. Sometimes it's not even just about getting the talent to you, it's sometimes taking the talent
Yeah.
away from some of the other big players and just trying to slow them down. Because a lot of that is that, right? It's just trying to slow them down. And I'm just wondering, like, I mean, look, Meta obviously has tons and tons of cash. I don't know if Meta's doing layoffs or not. I've definitely heard about the layoffs everywhere else at Google and everywhere else. But I do think that, with this open source play, it almost feels like Meta is just trying to take a completely different tack. And I think that to your talent point, how does OpenAI get all this talent, right? The people like, and you and I know a bunch of people over there. People really believe in the vision of OpenAI. I think Anthropic is the same. People love the vision of Anthropic. Google is a little bit kind of like older. It's not as, it's funny to talk about that like with Google. I think you're absolutely right on the talent thing because with the open source, look, Wall Street is, I think, a little bit still confused about how they're going to monetize this. I am a little bit too, even though, again, through service providers, but I don't know how they compete with the clouds on that. Like, I'm just trying to figure that out for myself. But what it does do definitely is it gets the engineers and everybody else super excited to do open source. So, I mean, Jane, to me, that feels like a huge talent play. And if everything is talent, and I think OpenAI proved that everything is talent, maybe that's where Meta's going. I mean, I'm not saying that that's the only reason to do open source, but I'll tell you what, like if people can choose where to go, don't you think they'd go sort of like toward the
100%.
open source
I
model?
think that's what this is all about. So as far as like how Meta is doing, if they've been able to throw $10 billion a year into like the metaverse that hasn't really panned out, and they knew this was like a 10-year long project, I think they have the cash. And in addition to this, earlier last year, they did a bunch of layoffs. They cut out all middle management. They streamlined their processes. I think they tried to take a little bit of a page out of Elon's book with what he was doing with Twitter. Not to that extent, but I know they did a lot of that over at Meta. And their stock price rewarded them. Like Wall Street saw some really solid growth. Now, what you have to remember is like you need that solid Wall Street growth to keep the people in your company happy, because then all of their stock options are going up. So I think
Right.
overall, Meta is a very healthy company where the people are happy, the stock price is growing, and they already did their layoffs. And so now I think it's like they know that even if I'm not so concerned about how they monetize it, because if they can build a best in class AI model, they see how much money Microsoft is making. They see how much money OpenAI is making. I don't think they really care about the monetization piece. They're like, if we can get all the users, we definitely will be able to figure out how to monetize this. But in order to make this incredible product, they need the engineers, and that's the hard part. And so I think to get those, they need the vision. And so this is the vision. Like, this is a no-brainer. Honestly, if I was an AI engineer and I had the choice of like, go work at Meta, where you have, you know, Jan LeCun, who's out there saying a lot of amazing things, he really has a strong vision, love him or hate him or agree with everything he says or not, like, he's got a really strong vision on open source AI, and this being like, this is really the vision of OpenAI, and it seems like they're like, oh, you guys went to kind of like closed AI and making a lot of money, which, I mean, I know they're doing their thing, and I mean, I'm not here to hate too much on it, but like, they're like, hey, people were very attracted to your previous vision, we can do that. And all of a sudden now they have all like the, you know, they have like all the points and the credibility with everyone that they're kind of pushing this vision that was the original OpenAI vision. Like, we're going to give you all AGI open source. It's cool. And like, for me, I don't always love Zuckerberg or love Facebook or his company. But like, I love this. And so I think it's buying a lot of goodwill with people, which is probably a big part of what they're doing in addition to the talent.
Yeah, I know. I think you're absolutely right, and I think that he is. I don't know that Zuckerberg will ever get his reputation back after, you know, just like the debacle of Facebook and sort of selling information. But I think Jan LeCun does a lot of that for him. I think that, you know, people who sort of know this space like really, really respect that guy. I know I do. Also, because he's an NYU guy. I'm at NYU as well. But like with, you know, with somebody like Jan LeCun, like it's like, yeah, he has a vision for how to do this, how to do it safely. It's sort of like, you know, I don't know. It's a little like an Ilya Sutskever kind of thing, or a Dario Amodei or something like over at Anthropic. Like these folks who big brains who want to do it carefully, and like the open source is just, you know, they all seem to be on the same track. So I agree with that. I think this is going to be a little bit burnishing, hopefully in a good way, for Zuckerberg's reputation. And just the last thing on that, like I love that. What did he say? Hold on. So in that video, it was like he told his followers that by 2030, sorry, quote, lots of people will talk to AIs frequently through the day using smart glasses, which is just totally hilarious because he doesn't know. Like, I mean, but this is like, you know, this is what they just sold. They sold that, but it's also kind of like dovetailing with the Apple Vision Pro, which is just available now for pre-order and will come out February 2nd, I believe. So, I mean, listen, who knows? I mean, it's not going to be as goofy as the Big Vision Pro, but I love that he's like, and by the way, this is how we're all going to do it. So maybe this is where Meta goes, like, you know, sort of like a wearable exactly like that, open source.
Yeah, and the final thing I wanted to bring up in this is like just the sheer GPUs required for this. So this is actually insane. A bunch of external research says that Meta has their 2023 shipment of H100 GPUs is that they ordered 150,000 of them. They are like the only other person that has ordered that many last year was Microsoft. So they're tied with them, and that's 3 times bigger than like anyone else's. So they're like literally dominating there. And of course, when you think of Microsoft, you're like, yeah, Microsoft is like literally partnering with OpenAI. They're running their cloud division. They're going on firing on all cylinders. Their stock's exploding. Yeah, you can see that with Microsoft, but like Meta, which is just so far giving away this free open source kind of stuff, literally having the same firepower is insane. And apparently, when NVIDIA's H100s and all the other chips that they've ordered come in, Meta is going to have a stockpile by the end of this year of 600,000 GPUs, which is like absolutely insane.
Bonkers.
So
it's billions of dollars in GPUs, so literally billions for an open source model.
Talking about like, can they do it? I think they have the firepower, and I think they know that. Like, they wouldn't be making this announcement. Zuck wouldn't be coming out and saying we're going to get AGI if they didn't have the firepower. So I think they have the firepower, and as far as who's got a moat, I think it's researchers are getting popped around from one company to another. I think if someone figures it out, everyone's going to kind of figure it out, and I think then it comes down to is the GPUs to train this. Now, final thing that I want to throw over to you, Connor, is that recently I heard, was it Sam Altman talking to Bill Gates maybe? Or maybe he was talking at the World Economic Forum. I can't remember. There's all these events that have happened recently. But anyways, he was saying that in order for AI to fully like reach, maybe it was Jan, to be honest, at World Economic Forum. I know he was there. And anyways, in order for AI to fully reach what its potential is, we need an energy breakthrough. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen here? Because we can build all the GPUs we want in the world, but like these things are very energy intensive.
insanely, and I think that's why I don't want to sound cynical here, but first of all, yeah, was it World Economic Forum? Anyways, you guys comment right in. But there was that moment where like it was like Gates and Jan LeCun and Sam Altman all like talking. It's just like this wild sort of scene. It's like very Ocean's 11. But basically, like what they were looking at around all this, yeah, is energy as well. And as he knows, like Sam Altman's real passion seems to be. I mean, he says it's just open AI, but it also seems to be sustainable energy and through nuclear fusion and everything like that. So like this is what he loves to talk about. This is his huge passion. I was involved in an OpenAI thing last summer, and that's the thing that Sam Altman wanted to talk about was that, not even about AGI and everything else. Hugely energy intensive. We're going to have to solve that problem. I literally don't know how there's enough energy on this planet to do it. So I think that has to be done in harmony. So hopefully somebody's kind of like figuring that behind the scenes, because whoever does, they are going to be able to make an absolute mint, because ultimately that's going to be the fossil fuel that's going to like run all.
Everyone talks about fusion and like if we get a fusion breakthrough, but like I don't know about the fusion breakthrough and how far away that. I think that honestly, I mean, I'd be curious what takes us there, but at the end of the day, the solution is just nuclear. I think a lot of countries are firing up their nuclear reactors with geopolitical stuff and Russia and oil and China and like everything going on. A lot of countries are firing up their nuclear reactors again. So at the end of the day, I think that would be the solution. But in America, we kind of have this aversion to nuclear, and there's a whole debate about that. But it'll be interesting to see where it all goes. True. I think there is a solution, and it just depends on like if it can be sold to people and if we think, it's worth it and stuff. So it'll be interesting. It's exciting. We'll keep you guys updated. Thanks so much for tuning in to the podcast today, talking about Meta and all the crazy stuff they have announced. Make sure to go check out Zuckerberg's video on whatever social platform you're on. It's pretty interesting, and they're making some really exciting announcements. So very exciting stuff. If you enjoyed the episode today, if you could do us a huge favor and leave us a review, it would mean the world to us. But we hope that you all have a fantastic rest of your day.